Hello everyone, welcome to your YouTube channel where we talk all about the GATE exam, and we are studying the operating system, the process management, into that the CPU scheduling. We just understood the shortest job first and the shortest remaining time first algorithm, where we saw the process which is shorter in the burst time gets a preference, gets a priority on the scheduling, and the process which had the longer burst time gets star weighted. It has to wait for a longer time to get scheduled on the CPU if one after the another the shorter processes are arriving and in the system available. So to overcome the disadvantage of shortest job first, either in the preemptive mode or in the non-preemptive mode, we have next the highest response ratio next algorithm, popularly known by the name HRRN, which actually implements the both things. It takes care of the burst time as well as it takes care of the waiting time of any process at any moment of time for making its decision. So let's look at the criteria that it follows. It has a criteria to schedule the process, namely response ratio. What response ratio says is nothing but then you have to find out the response ratio for each process by taking up the waiting time plus burst time and dividing it by the burst time. So in your numerator you have wait time, so it's not only putting the burst time as a criteria, okay, it is also putting the wait time as one of the criteria. So somebody might think that how the wait time is going to make a difference. You see, if we have a longer process and the burst time is more, right, longer process means burst time is more, so probability is that the response ratio will go small. But if that longer process have waited for a longer time, then the response ratio is going to go high, because this is getting considered here in the numerator. Of course, if some process has smaller burst time, that will also get a higher response ratio because it is in the denominator as well as. But at the same time, so it's not saying that I'm going to take care of only the longer process. It's saying I'm going to take care about the shorter process as well as the longer process who has to wait for the longer time, so that they don't get star weighted for their turn to come ever, like it happens in the shortest job first and even in the SRTF. Alright, so the mode of execution for this algorithm is non-preemptive. The only thing is it works on the response ratio. So whenever you have more than one process at a time to schedule, what you have to do is you have to find out the response ratio for each of them. Right, now the wait time for a process while finding out the response ratio is till the moment how much a process has waited. So we'll solve this question right here with the help of HRRN, and we will see that how does the response ratio makes a difference, right? So let's take a Gantt chart where we are going to schedule it, and you will understand how to schedule based upon HRRN. So here is your CPU at time 0, right? So at time 0, whatever processes are available, so we have process 1 P1 available at time 0 whose burst time is 3, and that is the only process. And we all understand when we have just one process, we don't have to look at it anything. It's just that whatever process is available, if it is the only one, simply schedule it. So let's take process 1 and schedule it. And why? Because the mode is non-preemptive. Once we schedule, it doesn't get preempted. So completely for the length up to 3. So 0 to 3 we have scheduled the process, correct? Now by the time 3, what else process is, so this is done actually, we can just cross it off. By the time 3, which other process is available? So P2 has come by the time 2, P3 is coming by 4. So we again have just one process, no other choice. So simply schedule. At this moment of time, you don't have to look at it anything else. No calculation of response ratio needed. So 3 plus 6 burst, that is 9. Alright. So this one is also done. Now by the time 9, you are at the time 9 and all other processes are available. We have P3, we have P4, we also have P5 available. Now what to do? This is the moment of time where you actually have to make use of response ratio. So you have to calculate response ratio for each process, right? So I'll do right here in front of you for P3. What is the response ratio? Whatever amount of time P3 has waited. So it came at time 4, right now this is time 9. So 9 minus 4, 5. This is the time P3 has waited, plus its burst time is 4, divide by 4. What does it become? 9 by 4, correct? Right, so this is 2.25. Okay, P3s. Now P4. came at time 6. So it's 9. So 9 minus 6, 3. Plus it needs 5 burst. Divide by 5 burst. So 5 plus 3, 8 by 5 is nothing but then 1.3.6. Lastly, P5 once again. So for P5 it came at 8. This is the time 9. So 9 minus 8, 1 plus it needs 2 bursts. Divide by 2, that is 3 by 2, and that is 1.5. Now see everyone, we have calculated the response ratio for P3, response ratio for P4 and response ratio for P5. Out of the three values, which one is the highest? We have to look at the highest response ratio. So which value is highest? Definitely 2.25 is highest, and so we schedule which process? We schedule P3. So here if you just observe, P3, P4, P5, 3 are available, 4, 5 and 2. If you just look at the burst time, who should go as per the smallest burst time? P5. But we are not only looking at the burst time, but we are also looking at the time they are waiting. Okay, so this is where you can understand that it is not making a process star wait for its turn only because it has little longer burst or larger than the smallest burst. Fine, so P3 comes, it needs 4, so 9 plus 4 is 13, correct? Now this is done. Next, again we have two processes. Now everyone just listen carefully. So we have two more processes to be scheduled. Again we have to make a decision. Now this decision will be dependent upon the new response ratio. Every moment of time you have to make a decision about which process to be scheduled. We have to calculate the response ratio at that moment of time. So the before ones we just have to take off, and we have to find the new. Now we don't have P3, we just have to find out for the P4 and P5. So let's do that. P4 came at 6, this is 13. So what is the waiting time? 7 plus 5 divided by 5. And this P5 came at 8, 13 is the time. So 2 plus 3, 5 plus 2 divided by 2. So how much is this? 7 plus 5 is 12 by 5. And so it becomes 2.4, right? And this becomes 7 by 2, and so it becomes 3.1, 3.5. So you can see easily which one is the higher. The value 3.5 is the higher, right? So what do we select? We select the process 5 and we schedule it. So process 5, what is the amount of time? 2 bursts, so 15, and so this is done. Right? Next, last, only one process left. So then again no choice, simply take up the last process who is alone, P4, and put it for the burst. 15 plus 5, 20. That's it. For your understanding that what is the difference between HRRN and shortest job and how it overcomes the disadvantage of the previous one, I'll schedule this given set of process based upon the shortest job first, so that you can understand the difference right here, that where the difference is coming. So let's have the Gantt chart. Let's have another Gantt chart. Which one is going to be for the non-preemptive shortest job first? Alright. So at time 0, again your CPU. Same process, same burst time. Right. So at time 0, I just have one process. So let's take P1. Schedule it for the complete because this is non-preemptive. Correct. By the time 3, I again have P2 and it needs 6 bursts. So 3 plus 6, 9. Right. By this time it is going to be exactly same because for single finger process, all the type of scheduling algorithms are going to give the same answer. Correct. Now when we have P3, P4, P5, we are going to look at the burst time because it is the shortest job first. It just makes a decision based upon the expected burst time or whatever burst time is available. So it is going to pick up process 5 because that is the smallest, and it needs 2 bursts, so 9 plus 2, 11. After that process 3 because that is next smallest, it needs 4, so 11 plus 4, 15. Then after P4 which again needs 5, so 15 plus 5, 20. Right, exactly. You all have practiced enough questions about this scheduling. Now you look at it where the difference is coming. Here the P3 was given the chance because it came first and it had waited for the longer time. Okay, here the chance is given to P5. See, this is where the difference is coming in both the algorithms, P3, P5, P5, P3. So here it had to wait for longer time. Here it got the chance first because we were also considering the wait time factor. We were not only looking at the burst time factor. Let's quickly find out the completion time, turnaround time and the waiting time that you all understand very well. So I'm doing it from the highest response ratio because this is what we are understanding right now. So for process P1 the completion is at 3, for P2 9, for P3 13, for P4 20 and for P5 15. Correct? Now with the help of this completion minus arrival, let's take turnaround. So 3 minus 0, 3, 9 minus 2, 7, 13 minus 4, 9, 20 minus 6, 14, 15 minus 8 is 7. Right? Now waiting time again from this turnaround minus burst. So 3 minus 3, 0. You all can see it had to wait for nothing, for 0 time. Now 7 minus 6, 1. Process 2 had to wait for 1 burst. It came at 2, waited till 3. Then 9 minus 4, 5. 14 minus 5, 9 and 7 minus 2, 5. This is the respective time, and for the average turnaround and average waiting time, you can just make a summation and divide by the number of process. I hope this algorithm is clear. You just have to remember the response ratio and it becomes very easy to implement, right? So I'll see you once again very soon in the next video. Till then, bye bye, take care.